What is up, everybody? Welcome back here to the David Rao YouTube channel. We're back with a Dynasty video. We're looking at Dynasty strategies, whether you're in a startup, about to start a startup, or already in a league that can help you win your league consistently year in and year out. We're going to be talking about player values, looking at how to judge those values, what your league mates are doing, how to track your league mates, what does that look like, and all kinds of different strategies here to help you win your Dynasty league. So first thing we're going to be talking about in terms of this is like, hey, first of all, how do you put this league together when you're in a Dynasty startup, right? What does that look like when you are in a Dynasty startup? And what should you be doing and prioritizing? So first thing you got to prioritize, you have to prioritize elite quarterbacks in the startup, right? Cheapest they're going to be right now is in that startup that you are going to start in, or maybe you're at the beginning of, right? So like the guys like Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, CJ Stroud, Hurts, Jackson, Burrow, Richardson, Williams, even to an extent of Love and Murray and Herbert, those guys are worth 2 first, right? Maybe not Love and Herbert, but when you get into the Caleb Williams, Anthony Richardson tiers in Dynasty right now, like you're looking at the values out there on Fantasy Calc and Dynasty Daddy and the places that I look, 2 first, right? At minimum. So you're really having to shore up your elite quarterbacks early, right? So really the thing is you got to accumulate that value, get 2 quarterbacks early. I'm a very, very big proponent of this. The 2 quarterbacks, top 12 guys that you're looking at. The perfect quarterback to do that with right now, Kyler Murray, top 5 upside. If you compare a Kyler Murray with an Anthony Richardson or a Joe Burrow or a Caleb Williams, you do that, right? You're shoring up your quarterback room and you're getting 2 elite guys early. And then even some other values, right? I love having Tua Tagovailoa as my QB2. I think that he can put in low-end QB1 numbers. And if you have him and Richardson and you're able to get other value there where he is going right now, his ADP is sitting there at that QB even like 16-ish mark, that's very good value. Also, don't be afraid of getting 3 or 4 quarterbacks, right? Like 3 quarterbacks in the first 4 rounds. If you want to stack those quarterbacks, you want to go Lamar, Kyler, Purdy, right? Or those guys there, prioritize that, because the one thing you don't want to be doing in Dynasty is chasing that QB2, right? I've done it. Plenty of people have done it. We're like, oh, I'm going to wait on QB. They miss on that second quarterback. That second quarterback getting injured, and you have a very good team, and then you're out there trading the first for Gardner Minshew. You don't want to be doing that, right? So really, really prioritize getting those elite quarterbacks early and go after those guys, right? Go after that third quarterback being Drake May, where you can kind of come along and maybe he ends up being a low-end QB1, and then you have 2 elite options, right? You don't have to keep them. You can trade them, but there's a value there. The next thing that I would definitely try to make sure you do is don't sacrifice future for that year one. You can compete in year one and still keep your future intact, your future first and those type of things, but don't go too heavy, right? Dynasty teams age fast. The other thing is, and not just an age number, right? 28 cliff, right? Those age cliffs that everybody talks about, they don't necessarily just age fast with age cliffs. They age fast with perceived value drops, right? So when guys are like, hey, this guy's, you draft the T. Higgins, and then now he's like, he's still stuck in the Bengals. Where's that value going to be? And then you're kind of in that limbo. Running backs, the value drops as soon as you grab them. Look at the guys on the screen here, right? Travis Etienne, he has another down year. He's going to be going to the 6th and 7th round next year, right? So the biggest thing you don't want to do is do not have your teams age fast, but also do not trade future first unless they're elite assets. Really, the way I look at elite assets here, these are the first 3 rounds of ADP right now in terms of startup drafts currently in this month. First 2 rounds, I'll give up a future first for most of those players. Maybe not Christian McCaffrey. It depends if I'm really going for it, and that's an elite guy that can win me this year. But other than that, those guys I'm okay with. A.J. Brown, maybe the borderline, like Laporta in there and tight end premium. But in that 3rd round, you're still looking at some guy. Tyreek Hill, probably not giving up a first for him, right? Drake London, still unproven-ish, right? So do I want to trade a future first that could be a top 5 asset? I don't know if I'm going to go with that with the Drake London. So really make sure you're not trading future first unless they are elite assets where you think they can win your league for 2 years, right? Can I sacrifice this year? And in most of the time, if I do kind of trade my first, some of the first I don't mind kind of giving up is that late first, like the 26 first. I still have my 25 first that I can maneuver and move around for value. I'm okay trading a little bit out, even if I don't know what that season's going to look like, right? I'm okay with that because I don't mind the risk, but don't trade unless you're trading for elite assets, right? If I trade a first for Jahmyr Gibbs, I'm hoping injury withstanding at that running back position that he can be a top 5 dynasty running back for 2 years, right? I can weather the storm next year. That's kind of how you're looking like. Don't sacrifice future for year one. Always looking to build, but also just remember, dynasty team age fast. Make sure you're churning and don't give up those first unless they're elite assets. The other thing to know too is understanding your player pick and value windows. buy picks in season, right? And for you new dynasty managers out there, this is something to know. I know the veteran guys will know this, but again, it's always good to kind of cover this. Sell picks in the off season. So really kind of look and see that. I'm going to give you a trade value chart to kind of know this. Buy veterans in the off season and sell veterans in season, right? So there's other guys. And I think the third bullet is the most important out there. Don't be afraid, even as a rebuilding team, to buy veterans, because they're always going to get value, right? Even if you're rebuilding, your number one job is collecting value, whether it's veterans or young guys, right? You could churn veteran guys that are going to produce for another year better than probably a young guy like Josh Downs, for example. You could probably churn a wide receiver that a veteran, Michael Pittman, those type of guys more, right? Like, and again, those are just examples. I'm going to actually give real examples here in the next couple slides that we talk about. But when you're talking about value, the best chart out there is EK Baller's chart. And again, there's nuance to it. Every league is a little different, but it's a very good vacuum of what you should be doing, right? So if you're looking at this chart, where we're at, we're, in that June, July, kind of into June, July area right now where this video is coming out, future pick value is kind of moderate right now. Everything's kind of neutral. People are buying, selling picks, wherever. You're really going to start heating up when you buy picks in that October, November range. You look at those contenders, you're looking at those regular fantasy football guys, those teams that think they're going to go compete. That's when you go buy their picks, right? And I always argue that you should probably 2 years out, because you can really get them for a little bit cheaper. And especially if it's an aging roster, that could be a top 5 pick in the 26 class, right? Now, when you're looking at when to sell picks, on the clock and rookie drafts, after the combine, you get that combine hype, draft scouting season when guys fall in love with prospects and really give a little bit more. But this is one of the most important charts out there for Dynasty to kind of understand like how the values work in your leagues. Now, some of those veterans to acquire right now, I wanted to give you guys 4 just off the top. Matthew Stafford. I think that he could have a very, very solid 2 years of QB1 potential. Even if you're a rebuilder, go get Stafford. He's going for a second in some leagues right now. And then you can flip Stafford for a first mid-year, right? If someone needs a quarterback goes down, he's playing really, really well. They've talked about him playing well. He probably has another 2 years on that slate. That's a guy to go target. Alvin Kamara, same thing. He could have a very, very solid season right now, going as running back 29. If you go out there and target him and kind of move him maybe for some younger guys or just some other veterans that they like a little bit more, an Aaron Jones type or whatever, you might be able to flip Kamara for that first. Last year, I did that. In one of my teams, I flipped Kamara for Tyjae Spears in a first, which turned into Brian Thomas Jr. Some would say I maybe lost it. But again, if Tyjae Spears kind of steps up, if Brian Thomas Jr. is the wide receiver 1 in Jacksonville, that's kind of how you churn your veterans on a rebuilding roster. Deontay Johnson's another one. He is going to smash his wide receiver 46 ADP. He is going to smash that. So if he's smashing that in the middle of the year, even if he's a wide receiver 2, you could still get value for him, right? And just because you have him doesn't mean you have to, if you're a contender, you have him, you need to keep him, or you can kind of churn him too, right? Go get another veteran and an added piece, an off ramp, something else that you can get, maybe a pick back. And that's how you kind of churn and stay younger at the positions. And another tight end, Hunter Henry. I know he's not sexy. He's tight end 29. Don't love his offense, but he could be that guy that's just kind of that solid 8 touchdowns, 600, 700 yards this year for the Patriots there, that target guy. Again, in tight end and tight end premium, he's definitely a guy to go target, especially if one of these tight ends goes down, right? And Andrew goes down. Oh, hey, I have Hunter Henry. Give you a second. Okay, I'll take a second for him. Then you just churned it for a tight end 29 at the beginning of the year or in the middle of the offseason, right? Next kind of thing here is focus on value, not need. So again, never draft for need in anything. Startup, Devy, rookie, never draft for need. And especially like if you're doing a Devy draft, never do that, right? Dynasty for sure. You want to always trade for need, right? Trade for that need there. Once you finish out that value, if you definitely targeted that quarterback position and the other guys really need a quarterback, that's when you trade, right? Here's Baker Mayfield. Now I'm going to go find out the pieces that I need to fill my roster. Now, understand position values too. Like what league, based on your scoring and your rules, what are some position values? Is there kick return yards now and points? Okay, if there is, that's going to bump up some of those wide receiver 3s and 4s. Understand that going into your draft. Those are the guys you can target. Another way to target it, I think in tight end premium, when it's 2 points or more for the tight end premium, guys don't value tight ends as much as they should. They go in that mindset of like 1.5 tight end premium. And there's some, last year I did a startup where it was 2 point tight end premium. Me and another manager, we draft like 7 tight ends and people were making fun of us and we finished top 3. He won and I got 3rd. And the reason why is because we targeted position of value. We went after it and now we have a bargaining chips. I was able to move a couple of those tight ends for other pieces as they got injured. That's kind of how you can really in Dynasty kind of have that strategy to win and just churn, right, is focus in the startup, what those rules are, what those positional values are, and take advantage of your league mates. And then the best way to attain this is in startups, right? Understanding player targets, understanding tiers, going through your spreadsheets. Hey, I'm gonna target this position. I'm gonna make sure I get this guy. Here's the end of my tier list, but I'm gonna go grab this player because in this league, for his positional advantage, I need him on my roster. Another way is understand your league mates. And this is a huge one. The psychology of Dynasty is an area that is not covered enough. You can go watch another, Dynasty, and I see it all the time. It's the Dynasty people out there that buy and sells. They're doing that too. And we do it too. But you're seeing, hey, these are your stashes. These are these things, right? And we see that. And really, I was at a company that did that. They literally was like, hey, we're going to go for clicks. We're going to do Dynasty sells, buy, sleepers, and those things. And we do it too. But I do think that there is a narrative where you can really do a psychological kind of take on your owners. Like, what are your risk takers out there, right? Afraid of risk. Like, what guys out there are afraid of risk, and take advantage of that. So like a Rashee Rice owner, if he's afraid of risk and then Rashee got in trouble this summer, you could have got Rashee for cheap. Oh, I want him off my roster. He's not going to ever do anything. He's going to be suspended. Go take advantage of that. The risk takers, go take advantage of them too. Like, they think Jameson Williams is finally going to break out. They're willing to take that risk. You could probably get a premium from that guy as opposed to another manager in your league. The youth chasers, those guys that always chase youth, right? Always going after that young wide receiver, that young running back that's going to break out. Use that to your advantage in trade negotiations and in trade value. You should be marking these guys as you go and charting them and saying, hey, these are the guys, these are my youth chasers. So if I have a youthful player, but I'm looking for like a veteran, I'm going to go to that guy first. That's the psychology of it. Go to that guy first. The value chasers, go to the value chasers over there. Hey, who wants the value? Okay, I know this guy likes this value here. So those are the stock market bros in Dynasty. Every time a value bump goes up, they're going to look to sell. Or every time the value goes down, they're going to look to buy, right? So use that against them in negotiations. The win now managers are great when you're trying to get assets, especially future first. You can definitely do that and target them. And there's always a shark in your league, the guy that's really knowledgeable in Dynasty. If he's asking, if he's offering a trade to you and he's going after some of your assets, okay, why is he going after this guy? What am I missing here from this kid's profile? And use that to your advantage. If he's a good Dynasty player, you're looking and saying, hey, why does he want these targets? How does this help out his roster and my roster here? And then the last tip I have here, avoid going all in on unproven assets, right? Like, when we think of unproven assets, for example, Justin Fields. Some people went all in last year heading into the season because they thought he was going to take a big step this year for Chicago. And now he's a backup quarterback for Russell Wilson, right? Trey Lance, people went all in on him. Boom. Now he's the backup for Dak Prescott on the Cowboys. Another quarterback landmine, possibly Anthony Richardson. I love Anthony Richardson's upside, his ceiling. But I see a lot of people moving like 2 firsts. I see a Josh Allen deal out there plus assets for Anthony Richardson. That's going all in on a prospect that's unproven. That will put you in deep holes that you might not be able to get out of in Dynasty. So be careful. If you're going to go all in, you go on proven assets. Don't be afraid of the Tyreek Hill, the Christian McCaffrey, those guys. They score fantasy points, right? Those are the guys to go after if you're going to go all in. Don't go all in on hope. Go all in on fantasy points and fantasy scores. And then also, if you do go all in, if you're going to go look for that, and maybe if you do go in for some unproven guys, give yourself an off-ramp, right? So, for example, if I'm going to go all in on a guy like Rashee Rice, give me that third back as well. Like, let me add that third, or I try to add my second to get, second and Rashee. Then I can use that second. Maybe Rashee doesn't pan out. Maybe he gets suspended longer than I thought. Then I'm going to use that second to get off that ramp, right? Go kind of target other players that can help me either this year or I can draft next year. That lessens the blow of me missing, right? Try to give yourself an off ramp as much as possible in Dynasty that lessens blows when you miss, because we're all going to miss. We're going to miss guys. We're going to miss prospects, rookie drafts, those type of things. We're going to miss them. But if you can give yourself an off ramp to keep churning that roster and not get it stagnant, that's the way to do it. But try to avoid going all in on unproven assets. If you're going all in, make sure you get guys that score fantasy points. That's the number one deal that you have to do there with this. Now, when we're looking at this and we're talking about it, that goes over kind of some of the Dynasty strategy there. There's also other stuff that we can get into, but those are the big ones. I think that'll really put you on, if you understand the values, you understand where to target in startup drafts, veterans to go, how to churn your roster, when the windows are for value and player values out there. That'll really help you as you move forward in your Dynasty leagues and trying to navigate the leagues that you're in and navigate the format. So appreciate you guys as always. Hit that like and subscribe button. I'll check you guys on the other side.